Hey, what's up? Hello. If you're new here, my name is Kayla and you are watching Kayla's Bookish Vibes. Today's video, it's that time of year. It's that time of year where it's the end of the year. And I have wrapped up my reading for the most part. I'm still in the middle of 2 books. Other than that, after I read those 2 books, I'm pretty much done with like logging books. There are some novellas that I have on my list that I want to get to that are available on KU that I'll be picking up that I can like read in a day. Just to like hold me over, but I don't plan on starting any full novels until 2025. So I figured why not start making my finals video, you know, like my favorites of the year. And I'm really excited. The first one we are going to be doing, as you can tell by the title of this video, are my favorite romances that I have read in 2024. I read quite a few romances this year and I have my top 5 narrowed down. I did cheat a little bit because one of my top 5s is actually a series and there's 3 books in the series and I'm just counting that series as a whole. Now also I feel the need to make a disclaimer. I'm not saying that these are the best romances of 2024. I'm saying these are the best romances that I personally read in 2024. Not all of these books are going to be your favorites. This is very much a list that I compiled thinking of only myself and what I enjoyed reading this year. And if you know me, then you know I have a very particular type of romance that I'm into. I'm not really into like a lot of spice. I don't mind a little spice, but I would prefer to be my romances to be more character based, more plot driven. It doesn't have to be closed door, but I want there to be a story there. So if you are someone who wants, you know, the spice right out the gate, if you want fast paced, these may not be up your alley. But let's just go ahead and get right into it. Shout out to Berkeley for doing their thing this year because they published a lot of great romances. One of the romances that I absolutely enjoyed was The Kiss Countdown by Etta Easton. I believe I gave this one 4 stars. I loved this one. First of all, it's just a really sweet romance. You guys know, if you've been watching my channel, that I prefer dual POV. This is not dual POV. You're only getting one point of view. Our female main character's name is Amory, and she is a party planner. However, she just recently lost her job. And her mother is sick and she's also going through a breakup. So she has like the trifecta of troubles going on in her life. Family member sick, lost her job, and she just got broken up with. So she's going through, sis is going through. She's trying to pull herself out of this slump. She goes to a coffee shop where she bumps into a young man who claims to be an astronaut. Apparently in this city, a lot of people claim to be astronauts, but this guy is actually an astronaut. He's the real deal. I believe his name is Vincent. Look at me remembering the male main character's name. I never remember their names. We don't get Vincent's POV, and that really bummed me out because one of the reasons I was drawn to this book is I was so interested in the male main character's job. I've never read a romance where the male main character was an actual astronaut, and I thought it would be really cool to figure out and see some of the things that he does in his job. You didn't really get to see a lot of that. Yet and still, this was a really cute romance, and I did enjoy it. This is a fake dating trope, so I loved it. I thought the spice was perfectly placed and paced, in my opinion, based on the romances that I enjoy. So glad that I got it. It's such a cute cover. And yeah, this was one of my favorites for 2024. Another one that I loved is a continuation of a series. This is The Partner Plot. This is the 2nd book in the Green Sister series by Christina Forrest. If you've been around my channel for a little while, you know I love me some Christina Forrest. The first book in this series is The Neighbor Favorite, which I absolutely love this book. I gave it a 5-star. This one I also enjoyed, but not as much as I enjoyed The Neighbor Favorite. This one I gave 4 stars. But we are following the sister in this story. She's the sister of Lily. Lily is in book 1, and this is Violet's story, which is book 2. Violet is a stylist, okay? She's been in the game for a little while. She's experiencing some success. She travels all over the world dressing celebrities, okay? So she's in her bag. But when it comes to her relationship, not so much. Okay, she is engaged in the beginning of this book, but the man that she is engaged to, actually no. She's not engaged at the beginning of this book. At the beginning of this book, she is already broken up, or her engagement has already been broken up because her fiance was cheating on her with one of his clients. So she, like, this book starts out with her like reeling from this breakup. Because of this breakup, she really wants to focus on her career, and in doing so, she actually ends up running into what was her high school sweetheart. So this is like a second chance romance. This is dual POV. Christina Forrest does write her romances in dual POV, and I appreciate that. I really appreciate getting into the mind of the male main character. His name is Xavier. I believe his name is Xavier, y'all. Don't quote me on that. I believe his name is Xavier, and he is a high school teacher. Now, while I loved this book, The reason it was given a 4-star and not a 5-star is because I felt, there were times where I felt Xavier was almost dragging Violet down a little bit, where I felt like he really needed to be taken care of and propped up, and his ego needed like some rebuilding. I felt like Violet, while she did a good job at doing that, if these were real people in real life, which they're not, but if they were, I feel like Violet would get tired of that eventually. And then I'm thinking like, who's going to take care of Violet? Because Violet is also going through some things and she needs to be taken care of as well. So not my favorite in the series, but I did really enjoy this book. And when I look back over all the romances that I read in 2024, this was one of my favorites. The next book I have to mention is When I Think of You by Maya Ariel. I loved this book. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. It wasn't quite my 5-star romance, but it was really close. Our female main character's name is Kalia, and she wants to be a director. She wants to make movies, produce movies. Unfortunately, she is stuck at the receptionist's desk, greeting people and answering telephones. She is being passed over and looked over for promotion, and no one can really see her potential or what she can offer as far as her career goes. One day while she is working at the receptionist desk, her ex-boyfriend comes in, and this isn't just like any ex. This is like the ex that got away type deal, only now he is a really hotshot, you know, high-ranking director, and obviously him seeing her in this role is humiliating. But things heat up, and it's a second chance romance, obviously, so things go from there. What I loved about this book is, yes, it was about the romance, but it was also about her career and what she was willing to do to move forward in her career, what she was willing to sacrifice, and how things may have changed for her, but she was a priority for herself, right? I love reading romances where the woman is the priority for the man, but I love even more when the woman is a priority for herself. And I think Maya Ariel does a really good job at doing that, because another book on this list is also by Maya Ariel, and she did the same in that book. But this one I loved. It gave me Love Jones vibes, not literally, but in the aspect that there is like a movie going on, and that they're both like in the arts. So, and then being able to relate in that way. I just felt like with the movie Love Jones, they were both very artistic. Although their art was like different, they could relate in that way. And I feel like these two main characters could as well. So it gave me Love Jones vibes. It also gave me Real vibes by Kennedy Ryan. I loved that book, and that was a 5-star for me. But it gave me those vibes as well because, again, it's about they were making a movie. So there were some, you know, parts in there that just kind of resonated with Real, because if you read Real by Kennedy Ryan, you know there were parts in that book where they were also making a movie. In this book, there's also flashbacks. And if you read Real by Kennedy Ryan, you know those are there as well as far as like the movie's concerned. So there's a bit of historical elements to this, but not really. I would not consider this like a historical book at all. It's just that part of the movie goes back in time and some of those elements are mentioned. And you guys know I'm a historical fiction girly, so I really appreciated those parts. Yeah, loved this. 4.5. And then after reading this, I was like, yeah, I gotta read whatever Maya Ariel puts out next, because her pacing is really good. I love the fact that she focuses on the female main character and more than just the relationship. And that the spice level was like not too spicy, but it also was still there, very much present, but it was perfectly paced, you know? Loved it. Now the next book I have is also by Maya Ariel, but I don't own the physical copy because it's not out yet. So I thought about not mentioning that book in this video because it's supposed to be the best books, you know, my favorite romances of 2024. And technically this one hasn't been released in 2024. It's being released in April of 2025. However, I read it in 2024, so I'm going to count it, okay? And I'm pretty sure I did a reading vlog on it. So if you want to know more of my thoughts about this, I will leave that video linked down below for you. But it is called No Ordinary Love by Maya Ariel. I will put the cover here on the screen. In this book, again, it is only one POV. I've come to accept the fact that Maya Ariel is only going to write one POV. But what I can appreciate about that is that she gives us enough backstory to where I still feel like I know who the male main character is. I feel like I have a lot of his backstory because you get a lot of that with the dialogue between the two main characters. As our female main character is getting to know our male main character, you as the reader is also getting to know him. So you do feel like you know him. You know, it's not like he's just over here and we're only getting things through her point of view. even though we are only getting things through her point of view, it feels like you're still getting to know the main character. Now in this book, our female main character's name is Ella, and she is a singer. She's a professional singer. Like, she's been in the game, okay? I think she's like 30, which I also love. A more mature female main character, someone who's actually my age and not like early 20s. It's just more relatable for me. In the reading vlog where I read this book, a lot of you actually commented and asked if this book was in reference or had any references of Sade, because of course, obviously the title, No Ordinary Love, the very popular song by Miss Sade. Yes, it does. I don't know why I didn't mention that in the book review, but there are a lot of references to Sade. It's not the only song that is referenced. What I loved about this book is, although our female main character is like a pop star, it doesn't feel super cheesy, in my opinion. There are a lot of like current day performers who are mentioned, like Sade, Beyonce. There's also a lot of like older artists that are mentioned, but it doesn't feel like name dropping. These names are being worked in very realistically, and I enjoyed that about this book. The only thing that I didn't enjoy about this book, and why it wasn't a 5-star for me, was because I didn't like how much time we spent talking about the ex-husband. So at the beginning of this book, our female main character, our pop star, is going through a very messy divorce from her husband, who also happens to be her producer. He's like this really big producer mogul in the industry, and obviously he has a lot of money and a lot of power, and he uses this against our female main character. There are bits and pieces where we go back in time where we're seeing how these two met and how she fell in love with this guy and then how she fell out of love with him. I really felt like we could have done without that. I didn't really want to know too much about him, because obviously the male main character that she's going to be in love with, which his name is Miles. He was amazing. I wanted more time with those two together. I wanted to see more of them getting to know each other, more of them like in cute romantic moments. I wanted to see more of Miles and Ella and less of Ella and Elliot. Which brings me to another thing I didn't like about the book. Ella and Elliot is such a cute couple name. Like, those two just sound like they were made for each other. But Elliot is a jerk, and you're not cheering for Elliot in this book, like, whatsoever. And I had to keep reminding myself that Elliot isn't Miles. I kept like mixing those two names up, because obviously couple goals as far as names go would be Ella and Elliot. But Elliot is a jerk. Miles is the one that you want her to be with, right? So the way I remembered it was Miles plays in the MLB. Miles, MLB. That's how I know that sounds really weird, and I hope you understand what I'm saying, but it just, like, Ella and Elliot just sound like they should really go together, and they really should not. But yes, I really feel like there should have been more moments between Miles, our baseball league player, and Ella, our pop star. They were really drawn to each other. It wasn't love at first sight, and I don't necessarily think it was lust at first sight, but you could just tell they were yearning for each other from the very beginning. And I loved the fact that Maya Ariel makes us wait a little bit before they get, you know, spicy. I really enjoyed the spicy parts because we had to wait for them. I'm just that type of girl, okay? You're gonna have to wait for it. It just makes it better, in my opinion, when you have to wait for it, when you have to do a little work for it. You know what I'm saying? Loves this book. I wanted it to be my 5-star. It, however, was not my 5-star. It was a 4.5. There was just too much of the X, in my opinion. This next book is actually where I cheated, and it's actually a series and not just a single book. And that is going to be the Dubell series by J.J. McAvoy. I loved this series down. Okay, I read all 3 of these books like back to back to back, and it probably took me a week, maybe a week and a half, to read all 3 books. If you know me, you know I'm a historical fiction girly. These are historical romances. And while they are historical romances, the historical elements, you have to take them very loosely. Okay, these are not like very realistic historical romances. They're just romances with historical elements in them. Okay, so the series order is Aphrodite and the Duke. Also, these covers eat. I love the covers. Then we have Verity and the Forbidden Suitor. Loved. And my favorite one of all 3 was Hather and the Prince. I gave each of these books in the series 4 stars. None of them were a 5-star for me. The first one we are following, Aphrodite, she is the oldest sister. There was a lot I can relate to with that. She's the oldest sister of all of her siblings. She has a lot of pressure to do what is expected of her during this time period. This is like a Regency romance, so this is Regency era. She's expected to do what she's supposed to do, which is get married, start a family, etc., etc. She comes from a big family, parents who married for love, which during this time period was not necessarily a thing. You married for status. So that, as discussed, think Bridgerton. If you are a fan of the Bridgerton television series on Netflix, then I believe that you would really enjoy this book series as well. So we have Aphrodite, who is the oldest sister. And then we have Verity, who is actually not a sister, but kind of like a play cousin. She's like a friend of the family. Her mother and Aphrodite's mother were best friends. So they're kind of like play cousins. You know, like when your mom has a best friend, her best friend's kids are your cousins. You know, you grow up like cousins. So that's kind of what Verity is for Aphrodite. I enjoyed her story because her male interest wasn't necessarily traditional. And I enjoyed that aspect. I wanted to see how in the world these two were going to work out. And I think the way that JJ McAvoy tied this up was interesting. I really enjoyed that one. And the last one, Hathor and the Prince. Hathor and Aphrodite are sisters. She is the younger sister. There are more sisters, and I'm interested to see if this series will be continued. I have no clue if it will, but I will continue reading it if it is continued. She is the second oldest sister, and I loved it. I think I loved her book the most because Hathor's personality. She's very spicy, very quick-witted. She's going to say what's on her mind. She's incredibly intelligent. Enjoyed her book. I also really enjoyed her male interest as well, shockingly. I didn't think I would. Obviously, he's a prince. The title's called Hathor and the Prince. And I enjoyed how it worked out. I would actually love to see this book series as like a short television series. It doesn't have to be like as long as Bridgerton. We don't even need more than one season. Like, make each episode an hour and a half long and tell each sister story in that hour and a half, and I'd be fine with that. Produced by Shonda Rhimes. Those were 4 stars each. If you've noticed, I didn't give a single romance a 5-star this year. I didn't have any romances where I felt this is my favorite romance of 2024. I absolutely love it. Everyone must read it. I did, as you can tell, have quite a few romances that I really enjoyed and that I will recommend, but none that were 5 stars. And I don't think I realized that until I started going through my Goodreads trying to decide what books would be on this list, and I realized there's not a single romance that was a 5-star for me. So 2025 will be me trying to find my 5-star romance. If you read any of these romances, let me know what your thoughts were on them, what you rated them, respectfully. We don't have to agree. I'm not someone who feels like if you didn't like the books I like, we can't be book friends. We can still be bookish friends, y'all. Okay, just keep it nice and sweet in the comments. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so that you can see the rest of the books in the other genres that I really enjoyed for 2024, and ultimately find out what was my very favorite book of 2024. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.